Okay, once again, good evening to everybody and welcome to Cape Town Chess Academy's advanced session. For tonight, we will be dealing with queen sacrifices, the topic of queen sacrifices. And as I've said in previous coaching sessions, the idea is not for me to be talking alone, but that we all engage one another. So I trust that we will have an interactive session together. Some of the theory or concepts that I will be covering for tonight, amongst others, we'll be looking at forcing the play after the queen sacrifice. We will also be looking at the aspect of material compensation, attacking the opposing queen. Then also one of the things that you need to consider importantly when contemplating a queen sacrifice is that you need to check your variations very carefully. And then furthermore, you need to try to make the play as forcing as possible in order to prevent the opposing queen from launching a successful counterattack. Most of you by now, you are aware that the queen is very strong. But what a lot of us tend to forget is that although the queen is very strong, it does not show itself at its best when it is tied down to the defense. So to a certain extent, this is because it is so valuable. We will also be considering material compensation, in some interesting material compensation like queen for a rook plus a minor piece, or sometimes just a queen for a rook. We'll also be touching on positional queen sacrifices, and then I also finally want to emphasize the fact that we will have to determine sound combinations. In other words, you need to determine combinations that will work for you. If I'm talking about sound combinations, it should have been carefully calculated and not just based upon an intuitive sacrifice where it is unsound. It is based upon how you're feeling at that moment and you feel you want to make a sacrifice. But most times when we make sacrifices, we need to ensure that they are sound and that they are carefully calculated and that they will work. So in other words, you should have considered all the possibilities. Okay, so I will be touching on, as we move along, I will be touching on these steering concepts, be returning to them, and just to see how we are doing in terms of the particular games that we will be looking at, etc. I'm going to ask you, before I proceed further, I see most of you are on mute. I'm going to ask you to mute yourself and to switch your video off, unless, of course, you are about to say something or respond to something and so forth, and then you're welcome to unmute yourself and then to mute yourself again thereafter. Okay, so the combinations that we will be looking at involves the strongest piece. So you could almost say that the topic of queen sacrifice could be a bit of a crazy topic for tonight. Okay, because it is involving the strongest piece, and most times queen sacrifices are relatively rare because it takes extremely well coordinated pieces to be able to mount a mating attack without the queen. Like I said earlier, you need to calculate it carefully. You need to know your story. And sometimes you might not even have that 100% certainty that this thing is going to work. There's always the danger that you might have missed a particular move. So if we are contemplating a queen sacrifice, we have to consider the variations very carefully. So we must try to make the play as forceful as possible. You need to keep up the pressure. Okay? Most times, I often tell my students that in any sacrifice, albeit the queen or whatever other piece, you already know what your follow-up moves are going to be. And this is the route that we're going to have to take. Even when it comes to the queen, you're going to end up having to be more aggressive, more vigilant. All right. So another thing is that I will be referring to some games tonight, three games, three classical games that I will be referring to. The first one will be a game played in 1907 between Rothlewe and Rubinstein. And then we will be looking at two games played in Moscow in 1964. It's played in the same tournament, the first one being between Geller and Spassky, and then between Smyslov and Tal. And then thereafter, we will be looking at some more queen sacrifice exercises. All right. So I trust that you will all be tightening your seat belts and enjoy the ride with us. Once again, I'm going to ask the person that's got iPhone, that's identified as iPhone, can you just identify yourself, tell me who you are, please, or change your name there. If you go on to participants and you see your name, and you can right click and just change your name there so that we can all see who is participating tonight. Much appreciated. Okay. Okay, copy. Thank you very much.
Copy.
Copy. Okay. Thank you. I hope I continue to pronounce it correctly.
No worries.
Okay, guys, I'm just I'm just switching my share screen. Excuse me. Are you all able to see the screen? It's my Liches study. I've loaded it. Tonight's study, I've loaded it on Liches. Are you all able to see it?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we can see it. We can see it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So the first game is between Rothlewe and Rubinstein. So from this current position, it is black to play. Okay. And black's first move is queen to g4. With that move, you can see that black brings his queen into the attack. However, I want to also point out that another good move that white could have done, that black could have done, was to play knight h2. But that would have been followed by queen h5 for white. Okay. All right, somebody needs to mute themselves there. It looks like Lazaric. Can you just mute yourself, please? Okay, so queen h4 was played. The next move for white responded with g3. Okay, I want you to see that if white had chosen to play h3 instead of g3, if white had chosen to play h3, then there is a sacrifice, rook takes c3, that was going to be followed. All right, that's just another line. I'm not going to go into that for now. So after g3, we still see black making the rook takes c3 exchange there. All right, it's a bit of a strange move, but like our topic said, we're talking queen sacrifices. Okay, can anybody, do you wish to comment? Anybody want to make a comment about that move, or do you want me to continue and show you what the surprise is?
Yeah, you can continue and show us what the surprise is, because I see that I saw the rook takes c3,
Yes.
and then taking away the defender of the e4 bishop, but sacking the queen. I didn't see the sacking queen part.
Okay, well done. Excellent comment there. I see you've identified immediately there is the e4 bishop there that is that was being defended by the knight on c3. Okay, and I mean the human instinct comes in here. We're going to be greedy and we want that biggest piece. All right, so there we go. Rook c3. G takes h4, and the next one is rook to d2. Instead of immediately taking bishop takes e4, there's rook takes e2 coming. Okay, it's definitely another sacrifice. But why? Why rook d2? Anybody? Waylon?
To remove the queen from the defense of the e4 bishop.
Correct. You want to deflect the queen away from the defender so that bishop takes e4, and that will almost immediately lead to checkmate, except for rook f3 that can be played. Okay. What if white did not take the queen? G takes h4. That is important. I'm not I'm not going to go into that whole discussion now, but I've given you the analysis there. Certainly, let's just go back to that situation. Queen h4. If white did not take it, do you immediately see what's happening here? Queen threatening h2. Okay, so then rook takes c3 would still have happened, removing the defender of the bishop on e4. There's another combination, bishop takes e4, which will also remove the queen, deflect the queen away from the e2 square. The queen was defending the h2 square. Okay, so certainly queen h4 was a brilliant move played by black. All right, so let's go back to rook to d2. We've identified the deflection away from the e4 bishop. So queen takes, bishop takes e4, and immediately queen has to come back to g2. However, interesting, black did not take the bishop takes queen there. Look at the next move.
Rook c2.
No, not rook c2, which would also have worked. But rook h3. So now you're threatening rook takes h2 checkmate. Okay. It's interesting to see. You can decide what is the better move, rook c2 or rook h2. In my book, rook h2, because rook c2, you're still going to invite rook f2 from white. All right, so you will just be delaying it a bit more.
But if can I ask something?
Yes, sure. Who's speaking now?
It's Lazaric speaking.
Okay, Lazaric. Yeah.
If rook f2 can't, say for example, I play rook c2, and he play rook f2, then I just take the rook on f2.
You can, but what I'm saying is you're delaying the process.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Yes, I understand.
And now we're threatening checkmate with the very next move. There's still the pin on by the queen on e4. Okay, whereas rook f2, you inviting either the knight or the bishop to still take it. So you're just delaying the process there. That's what I'm saying. It's another move or two. Okay. Do we have
understand.
Do we have any more questions on this first example? Any more questions? Let me just see what's happening in the chat here. Okay, Reino says it is clear. Welcome, Reino. Reino's all the way from Eden, Vice President of Eden Chess. We are honored to have you here. We also have somebody that's all the way in New Zealand, Raoun, so it's middle of the night by him, but he has graced us with his presence tonight. You're most welcome, Raoun. Okay, guys, so if we go back to that, to our first, my introduction, you can actually identify with some of the topics that I was talking about, the forcing play, having calculated the variations, etc. And yet we saw another additional sacrifice coming, and Black knew his story. He already knew what his response was going to be. Let's look at the second game, 1964, between Geller and Boris Spassky. Okay, you all remember Boris Spassky as being a former world champion. He played a famous 1972 World Championship match with Bobby Fischer. All right, so if you look at the position, do not look at my notation, okay? What would your first move be if you were playing black? What would your first move be? Offhand. Who can I ask? Chapter.
What about rook takes f1?
Rook takes f1. Okay. Wylan? What would your first move be? Alternatively,
Rook takes f1.
Rook takes f1.
Rook takes f1.
Okay, Raoun, what would your first move be?
I was thinking rook to c8. Rook a to c8.
Okay. All right. Anybody else want to make a suggestion before I go and I show you that the actual move, what the actual move is? Okay. Interestingly, look at the move, Bishop G5. And this shows you once again just how deep Spassky analyzed. Okay, when I looked at this game, I myself, and I had to look at it 3 times. Because that move, Bishop G5, it looks like, it doesn't make sense. We're all considering the Rook F1 or Rook C8 scenario, but this move prepares for the Queen sacrifice. In this game, you see that Spassky has accurately calculated the required variations. Okay, there's somebody that needs to be muted, please. Turan. And Rowan, it looks like you're also not on mute.
I am mute.
Okay, are you unmuted? Okay. All right, guys, just continue to just check, please, so that we can flow. Check that your microphones are on mute. Okay, so with Bishop G5, this move prepares for the Queen sacrifice, and you'll see that Spassky has accurately calculated the required variations, and he has correctly evaluated the position. Because look at White's next move. Rook goes to C7. Okay, so the Queen is attacked. There is also an attack going on G7. So white has reckoned if the queen moves away, it makes sense either bishop or rook takes G7. I think most of us would want to bank on that.
100%.
Okay, but look at Black's response, guys. This is extremely exciting stuff. Queen takes. Okay, bishop takes, queen. And if we go back, look at the idea of bishop G5. I'm just going to go back to that. Bishop G5, it looks like a very passive move. But Black's whole plan was to get to the G1 E3 diagonal. Okay, so Black was expecting rook C7, queen takes, bishop takes, and here we go. So queen has taken the rook. There's now also the bishop that looks like it can gain a pawn. 9 points for 6 points. Crazy. However, let's see how powerful these bishops become. Okay. Immediately, king goes to G2. King could have gone to H1, but then you've got the danger here of knight F2. All right. Let's first remove the knight on D2. Can anybody tell me, let me see, Anito, why exchange the knight on D2?
Removing a defender from a square.
Yeah, which square?
Let me see, the E4 square.
Correct. Okay. So knight takes D2. Are you suggesting that the bishop is going to get to E4?
Yes, it's nice diagonals.
Correct. Okay, well done there. So knight takes D2. White then sees now, do not exchange immediately in D2. Let's first exchange the rook. And rook takes F8. White is still thinking, I'm ahead. I'm ahead on the exchange. So simplify the game. Keep on exchanging. I'm ahead on material. Okay. Now you see that Black has only got a rook and a knight for the queen. All right. So 8 points for 9 points. However, you'll see that these forces are very well coordinated. And they are attacking the white king, which has actually been stripped of his defenders. Look at the white king. He's completely exposed. There's no defense, not a single piece here that's actually helping to defend this white king. It's like he's walking out on the field there somewhere. Okay, he's alone on the field. All right. Let's just follow up with the combination. Bishop takes on D5. And there the rook comes down. Okay. King, if the king goes to G1, there's the possibility of the discovered attack. So that's not a good idea. What's going to happen if it goes to G3? That's actually the move that he made. Okay. So let's see. King G3, and now the knight goes to F1. Look how well Black's pieces are coordinated. Okay, eventually the king goes to H4. Black's move, H6. Okay, I hope I say the name correctly. Is it Gape? Can you tell me why Black played H6? Are you still with us, Kape? Okay, I see it looks like Raoul wants to say something.
Wouldn't it just be bishop to g5 checkmate?
Yep, there is that consideration. Absolutely. And there is also the possibility of bishop coming to f2 after the rook has moved away, so to prevent the escape square, to block the escape square of g5. Okay, well spotted there, because now to prevent the bishop of g5, which you have mentioned, white plays bishop to d8. Okay, so coming back to my point of the escape square, blocking the escape square g5, after bishop d8, the rook just goes back to f8, attacking the bishop, and now there is checkmate being threatened on f2. Okay, so at that point, you saw that white resigned because he has no sensible way to defend against the threat of bishop f2 checkmate. All right, so in spite of the fact that he had still his queen and two bishops as opposed to the rook and the knight, you guys can see that black's attack was well coordinated. It was well planned, and look at the power of the bishops. Look how white's defense, the defense of the white king, was completely exploited. Okay. Any
I think,
yeah.
I think the problem came where white played bishop take d5. That is where the whole problem came in, because white had to defend the f2 square long time ago because he had the chance.
Okay. Yeah, but I think if white.
No, I'm talking about. Can Talmarkes quickly go back to where to bishop take d5?
Bishop takes d5. Let's just go back there. Okay, so bishop g5. Let's see, rook c7. I'm looking where's bishop takes.
Yes,
d5.
now go back before bishop take d5. Don't bishop should not take g5 d5.
Okay.
Right before, then he's supposed to play bishop. Yeah, he's supposed to play bishop g3 or something like that.
Okay, I see. So you're suggesting bishop g3. What you need to realize is that, coming back to what we said, after the d2 exchange, Lazarick, the knight exchange d2, black was planning, and that would have been a very strong outpost on e4. If he had played bishop g3, yes, black would have had to revisit his plans. But bishop e4 check, king goes to g2 then, because bishop g3 would have blocked off another escape square. So let's just look at this. You're saying bishop goes there. Okay? Then I'm saying black bishop goes check there.
Yes. And then he can maybe...
King can only go to h2. Do you agree with me?
Yes, I agree.
All right. But then look at this. Rook f2.
Say bishop takes.
Okay.
Can't knight f1 work as well?
Yeah. Sorry, just go back to that. Where was this rook on f8?
Knight f1 is strong, yeah.
Knight f1 is the correct one there. And there's your fork of the bishop. And then rook f2 is going to come. In fact, so here he's forced to take with a queen.
Yes, I
Because
see. Yeah.
it's checkmate.
I see.
Okay, so all around he was actually lost, but thanks for that. You know, it's quite interesting there. Anybody else have any contribution before I move to the next game? Leslie, just unmute yourself. Mute yourself, please. Any other questions, guys? Okay, let's go on to the third game, also played in 1964. Same tournament in Moscow, between Smyslov and one of my favorite players, Tal. My surname is halfway there. Okay. In this game, you see once again it is black to play. If you look at that position, I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds for you just to ponder the position without looking at what the actual moves were. You playing black. Consider what your first move will be. I'm not going to ask anybody specific. I just want you to look at that position. Evaluate. So you're doing the CCT now. Checks, captures, and threats. You're looking at strengths and weaknesses for both sides. Okay? You would, at this stage, would you agree with me that you would say that white is at a disadvantage? Look at his knight on a4. Even the knight on c2 is kind of limited for space. Black is more active, especially in terms of the central files. You guys agree with me? Okay, so now it is time for action. Black to play, and his first move is f5. He opens up the game and prepares a combination. Now, let me remind you what the combination is. The combination in chess, we're talking about a series of attacking moves. Well calculated, well thought of. And that is the basis for a sacrifice. That it should be well calculated, and you need to look at all the possibilities. So this is what black is doing. He plays f5 to open up the game and prepare a combination. White doesn't have much of a choice. He responds, e takes f5. But look at the very next move. Black is very sneaky. He does not take the pawn back. Most of us, we would want to immediately take the pawn back, whether it is knight takes f5 or g takes f5. More than likely, we would have considered knight takes f5. But look at the very next move. Knight to e5. Okay? That knight to e5 gives us so much possibilities. It does not only open up the b7 diagonal and invite an exchange of bishops there, but you can actually see the knight as the possibility of going to the g4 square if it wants to, besides the fact that there is an attack on d3. Okay, but d3 is well protected, so that's not really something to strongly to consider. However, black has thought deeper of that. Who can tell me? Let's see, who can I call on? Where would you actually think that knight on e5? What is the idea for black? Where does he want to really go with that knight? But there is an obstacle at the moment preventing that move. Duran, where do you think, where does this knight on e5 really want to end up on?
Just give me a second. I think the knight e5 really wants to go to the f3 square.
Absolutely correct. Well done. The obstacle, of course, is the defender, the bishop defending on g2. And that is the reason
Yes.
why white is inviting black, why black is inviting white to exchange on b7, so that queen takes b7, then the queen will be controlling the strong, the white light squares, that diagonal, and the queen will be controlling the f3 square for the knight to conduct a beautiful fork. Okay, well done. Thanks for that, Duran. Okay, so knight e5, white responded with f4. So here you could see in my note, after bishop takes b7, queen takes b7, and the threat of knight f3 gives black the advantage. Black still plays knight f3. Even though the bishop exchange has not happened, he still goes there, forcing white to exchange the knight. And now look how strong that bishop becomes. Okay. Very, very strong, very active bishop then, attacking the rook. Rook goes to e1. And where you and I am sure you would want to move your queen away. Look at black's very next move. Very strange move. Remember, guys, we're talking queen sacrifices. So it's kind of expect the unexpected. And that's why I told you at the start, tighten your seat belts. Look at that move. I'm sure if I should go around, including myself, all of us would probably say, but I would not make such a crazy move in this position. I would have moved my queen away, hoping that white exchanges, I take it back with my rook, and I will be controlling that file. But to come up with such a weird move. Okay, so now, queen e2, it's a positional queen sacrifice that is being invited. You'll see that black, this is now Mikhail Tal playing, black will only end up getting a rook for his queen. It's crazy. 5 points for 9 points. How do you do business? All right, but you need to have a plan. Okay, black makes this positional sacrifice. He only gets a rook for his queen, but he has faith in the strength of his active pieces. In chess, guys, activity is a very key word. If you have pieces on the board and they are not active and they are offside, you might as well have had them completely off the board. All right, queen e2, as expected, rook takes, e2, thank you very much. I have your queen, very generous of you. Rook takes back. Now, very interesting. White responds by playing queen takes e2. Okay? At this stage, he's hoping to survive in a worse endgame because look at his knights that are inactive. So they would then be equal on pieces after this exchange, but it will be a rook and 2 minor pieces besides the pawns. But in fact, he's then hoping to survive, but his pieces are inactive. The knight's offside on the queen side doesn't help the cause at all. Okay, if white had tried to hang on to his queen by playing queen c1, let's say if he had to go queen c1, then you can actually prepare yourself that rook g2 was going to come, or you could prepare yourself for a doubling up of rooks. Okay, but Tal indicated that he was going to play rook g2 check first. The king will go to f1, and then rook takes h2. So then you're expecting the skewer as well. All right. Look at how cramped for space this queen would then have been. Okay. So now this all of white's pieces, the two knights, the rook on b1, and the queen, they would all then basically be offside. While black is totally dominant, controlling, he's got a lot of activity going, etc. And that is why at this stage that the queen took back on e2. Let me just go down. Bishop takes, knight went to b2, and g takes f5. And here you can actually see that black is better off. And I'm not showing you the end of this game, but you can actually, it's a foregone conclusion that white ended up losing the game. Okay. Once again, guys, any comments or questions from anybody? Any uncertainties, or you want me to go back to any positions? Oh, it looks like I'm talking to myself now. Okay. So nobody's got any questions?
I think it was well explained.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm just going to go back to our original notes. So now we've looked at these three games, and let's just revisit and see if we can tick any boxes. The idea of the queen sacrifices in either of those three games. Was there forcing play? Or was it just...
In most of them, yes.
Absolutely. There were clear plans. Clear plans happening there. Rainer says yes. Definitely the sacrifices were not made just like sort of and left hanging there. Okay? At least you could see the player making the sacrifice. He had actually gone beyond just thinking about planning 2 or 3 moves there. He had it well planned, and he had the combinations in place. We did certainly see material compensation. In the one, we saw a knight for a rook, knight and rook for a queen. In the other one, we just saw queen for a rook. Okay? Let's look at the third point, attacking the opposing queen. Certainly, there was the element of attacking the opposing queen. And very important, guys, you need to keep up the pressure. I'm going to jump to point number 5, because those two are interlinked. When you're making that sacrifice, you need to make the play as forceful as possible in order to prevent the opposing queen from counter-attacking you. Okay? I did not make the note here, but I would almost want to say that in the cases of the queen sacrifices, in all 3 games, there was the element of surprise. Okay, there was an element of surprise. It was kind of unexpected, and it was clear that it was well planned, taking advantage of the fact that some of the opponent's pieces were ill-placed, they were offside and so forth, or there was a weakness in the defense, there was structural weaknesses, there were strong outposts. And very interesting, in preparing for, for this lecture and the 3 games that I chose, very interesting, I was I was admiring the bishop play. After the queen sacrifices, you see how those bishops just came in there as well. Okay. So after the sacrifices, not only the bishops, but the rooks. So those long range pieces were pretty active. And then the knights just came to complement and to aid the attack. Okay. Were the variations carefully considered when contemplating a queen sacrifice? I could say yes. We looked at all the possibilities. All right. And you saw that when the opposing queen had to defend, it was very vulnerable. Okay. Not only was the opposing queen prevented from launching a counter attack, it was very vulnerable in, in defense. And the combinations used were extremely sound. Okay, I'm once again going to ask you any questions or comments.
Wouldn't another element of a queen sacrifice would be the king's safety? In all the examples, black's king was quite safe compared to white's king.
Absolutely. And that, sorry, who spoke now? Was it?
Rowan.
Rawan. Okay. Well, Rawan, thank you for that point, because that brings me to something that I wanted to say earlier. I mentioned about the fact that, there was the strengths and weaknesses, the position was evaluated, and with the pieces, with the opposing side's pieces being offside, etc. And there was definitely exploitation of the position happening. But an important point that when we talk about sacrifices, guys, first of all, you need to have a patient build-up of your pieces. You need to get all of your plans in place. Your combinations must be ready. But there is a very critical word that I cannot emphasize enough when we talk about sacrifices in chess. And that word is all about timing. You need to time that sacrifice perfectly. It is the element of surprise, but you need to time it when the defense is weak, when the pieces are offside, when there is not enough time for your opponent to be able to regroup or to counter attack. You need to have a sustained attack. After making that sacrifice, you need to have a sustained attack. You need to keep up the pressure. You need to have the perfect combinations in place. And then, importantly, you would have calculated all the possible variations. But most importantly, do not exchange your most attacking pieces, because you need those most attacking pieces not only to keep up the pressure, but to deliver the knockout blow. Okay, but thanks for that, Arawan. It was a very, very useful point. Lazarick, did you want to say something?
No, everything was very well explained. Everything was very well explained.
Okay, guys, now I'm going to rack your brains. We're going to be doing some exercises for the 40 minutes that we have left. The positions on the board. Okay, let me just see. I'm going to try to hopefully cover my answers. I trust that you guys cannot see the answers. But offhand, in this position, white must play. Briefly look at the position, and then I want somebody to give me the first move for white. Leslie, can you just mute yourself, please? Waylon.
Queen takes F7.
Queen takes F7. All right. I'm sure you have an idea why. You want to talk me through it? Followed by?
Bishop takes E6.
Excellent. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Easy game. Queen takes f7, king takes, and there we go. Checkmate. All right. And you'll see here that white wins very, very easily. Okay. There's not much to comment on that game. After queen takes f7, what other option is there for the king? Just to run to h8, and then he's still faced with checkmate
Yeah,
on
with bishop.
e7. Okay. Let's go to the second one. White to play. We're talking queen sacrifices. Chapter? Any suggestion?
Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah.
What?
We can see all the moves.
Can you see the moves? Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Anito. There's no way that I can hide it, unfortunately. But it's
That wasn't me.
oh, was that not you? Okay.
It was me right now.
Oh, thank you, Rhino. Okay. Sounded like Anito. Okay. Queen g5. Would you guys have expected to make that move if you were playing?
I don't think I'll
No.
be able to play such a move while I'm playing a game.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I myself might have overlooked that move. Okay.
I find I wouldn't play it in a game, but when someone says there's a tactic here, I'll
Yeah.
find it.
Yes. So in this case, it was queen g5, f takes g5, and now look at the knight h6 combination. King goes to h8. And look at that bishop coming into play there. And it's almost checkmate, eh? All right. Let's just go back to the possibilities. What would have happened there? With rook f6 and then bishop takes f6. Okay. Let's look at the other possibility. I don't know what happened there. It skipped something there, but there was another possibility. Okay. Let's go to the third one. I just want to see if I can somehow. It doesn't allow me the option to hide those moves from you guys. Okay. In this case,
Hi, Andrew.
yeah.
Andrew.
Yes, sir.
So what I normally do, because I obviously want to challenge myself here, so I don't
Yes.
want to see the move. So I just normally take the chat or the participant list and I just block out that side of the screen so I don't see it.
Okay. Thank you, Burton. Right. Is it blocked out now?
No, if you block it out, we still can see, but I'm just saying each participant, if we don't want to see it, you can just put that over there.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. Can I ask all the participants to block out that side of the board?
Sure, I'll do that.
Thank you, Jefter. Okay, so guys, the first move here.
Sorry,
Yes, Wyland.
sorry, Andrew, that was me. You can like have like something, maybe like your PC's calculator or something small to just cover that section, and then none of us can see.
Okay, I'm gonna see now. Let's see if I can.
Like, or a small app that is on your PC or something.
Yeah, it's because I'm sharing. Because I'm sharing the screen. Let me just stop sharing quickly. Just bear with me for 1 minute, guys.
Sorry, Andrew.
Yep.
It's up to all of us if we want to cheat. I normally don't cheat because if I cheat, I don't learn anything. So the suggestion that Burton made was a very good suggestion.
Okay. Thank you for that, guys. Can you just open up your participant screen and just block it out on the right hand side? Everybody got that?
Yep, I got it.
Got it.
Yeah, all sorted.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that. I'm on the phone.
Okay. No problem. So, looking at exercise number 3, the first move here was queen takes f4. And then you see e takes f4. Immediately, that long diagonal opens up, but unfortunately, white does not have a dark squid bishop, right? The very next move, knight f6. What is the threat?
It's checkmate
Absolutely, there's a
on
checkmate there.
f7.
F7 threat, yes. So
Yep.
the queen cannot remain on the 7th rank any longer. So now you see that the queen has to stay there and ends up having to give up the queen. So black, desperate because he needs an escape square for his king, so he moves his knight to e6. And then the knight takes queen there. But let's just go back to the combinations. The rook, there was a possibility even of the rook coming down to the 7th rank as well. Okay, and exchanges happening there. Okay, I'm going to go to the 4th one. So now with your screen being blocked off, white to play. What is your suggested first move? Anybody? We're talking queen sacrifices.
White takes bishop. Queen takes bishop, sorry.
Queen takes bishop, c4. Yes. And queen takes queen. All right. Now the next move for white. Duran.
Wouldn't it be bishop f4 check?
Bishop f5, you mean?
F5, I mean
Yeah.
F5, sorry.
Bishop f5. All right. Guys, like in the 3 games that we went through earlier, where I highlighted the power of those bishops, look at it once again. It's very apparent again in this game as well. Okay, the previous 2 examples, we had the two knights working in tandem. Now in this one, we got the two bishops. So do not underestimate the power of your minor pieces. More so when they have to work in tandem, when they are working together. Okay, the king cannot actually go anywhere. Black is forced to play rook to d7. Okay, he could have also played queen e6. Okay, whereupon the bishop would have taken e6, but then once again rook e7 would still, rook d7 would still have happened. Okay, instead of taking now, look at the next move. Oops, where are we now? I skipped it now. Rook d7, so immediately rook e8. The knight has to come back to d8. And now the next move for white.
I think it's rook c1.
You could do rook c1, but let's keep up the pressure. There's a
Bishop takes. Bishop takes.
You can do bishop takes, hoping then to follow it up with a knight e5.
With a knight.
Knight e5
Yes.
4, okay? However, look at it. He did not take, he kept up the pressure and he immediately chose
Knight e5, yeah.
knight e5. All right, when there's a pin, you maintain the pressure. He could have also taken, look at the possibility of rook takes f8. Just as good, rook takes f8. Rook takes back on f8, bishop takes d7, king takes, and then you do the knight e5 fork. That could also have happened. Okay.
That knight e5 is ugly.
It's an ugly move, yep. Definitely. Beautiful position in the center of the board. Okay, so queen came to b5. Now, who suggested rook c1 earlier? There we go.
It was me.
Combinations. And now you can actually see here bishop c5 desperately to defend to the defense there, and it's all about timing. Knight takes d7 with a discovered check also happening. Now, you guys still got your screen covered?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Black to play. Why is white inviting black to take rook takes e8? What will white's next move be? Who hasn't spoken for a while? Let's see. Rawan.
After rook takes e8, wouldn't it just be knight to b3 with a double checkmate?
Not knight b3.
B6.
There
B6.
we go. Well done. And,
Aye.
and that's exactly what happened. Okay. Fantastic combination going there, guys. Exactly what we spoke about earlier. All right. Keep on covering your screens. We're going to the next exercise. Black to play in this position. You need to give me the first move. I can tell you in this game that we're looking at, black went on to lose because he missed the force mate. Okay, so we're looking at the proper combination now. First move for black. Lazarick.
Let me see quickly. Move for black. First move for black. Let me see quickly. if I do queen take h2,
That
queen
is the
take
right.
h2,
Yeah.
what? Queen take h2, king take h2, then knight g4.
Yes. And then your king was forced to come back to g1. Okay. Well done. That followed your next move for black after king g1 would be knight
Knight
g3.
h3.
Yeah, knight
Okay.
h3.
Guys, I want you to see, look at black's material compared to white. He's got a total of 9 points for the two knights and the bishop. We're not even bothering to count the pawns. Compare that to two rooks and a queen and a knight for white. This is ridiculous. Okay, knight h3, king goes to f1, and here comes your checkmate move. Knight h2. Once again, it's all about the pieces working in tandem.
I think in one of my games
Yeah?
I've seen this position.
Okay, is that chapter talking?
Yeah,
Okay, well done. Guys, look at that monster square of f3. Look at that bishop, how powerful that bishop is on f3. All right. Also notice the fact that white is threatening queen e8 checkmate. So black needed to get these combinations together. He needed to ensure that they were well coordinated. All right.
Mr. Andrews,
Yeah.
you mentioned that black actually lost the game.
Yes, he missed the force mate and he ended up losing the game. And though I think the reason why he lost the game was because he was behind on material.
Okay.
All right. Let's keep our screens covered. We're going to the next one. Okay, so we're looking at exercise 6. White to play. Black is being invited. Black has invited white to exchange queens on e5. Can everybody see why white may not take queen e5?
Rook to f1 checkmate.
Correct. Okay, there's the backline checkmate threat. So instead of queen takes e5, you need to give me the alternative move for white. What would your first move be?
I think it's knight d6.
No.
No, no. That
Knight
knight
d6, the
d6.
pawn can take your knight or the queen. Anybody? I'm going to go through the analysis here, what Stockfish is telling us. I'm not, before I give you the extra things there. Okay. So Stockfish was also saying h4. And that is the move that white made, h4. It seems like a very passive move. It is simply protecting the bishop on g5, which eventually controls extremely strong diagonal there. And the key to that is I want you guys to see that passed pawn on e6. It's also fair advanced in the process.
Yeah, because white's idea is that black can't actually take the queen on e2 because then the knight takes on c7.
Absolutely.
Checkmate.
That's well spotted there, Rowan. Okay. So queen went to g3. if the queen takes on e2, then knight takes c7. Yes, guys, just mute yourself, please. So now white continues to play. There's Rick. Mute yourself, Chapter. Also mute yourself, please.
I am muted.
Okay, thank you. Rook d1. All right. That rook d1. Well, who can tell me with the rook d1, what is the threat? What is white threatening with that rook? Where does he want to go?
Rook d3.
Yep, rook d3, or the other alternative would be rook d5. Okay, rook takes the pawn on d5. Okay, black responded by playing rook f2. Now, there's a lot of pressure happening. Black is certainly threatening the checkmate there. G2 doesn't look like there's much that white can do. Queen is being attacked, and there's a checkmate threat on G2. However, black underestimated white's response. Do we take queen takes f2? Let's take it. Queen takes f2. We know by now if black takes queen takes f2, then knight takes c7 is going to happen, followed by e7 check, and which will be checking the king on f8, and then there's the queen that's going to be happening on e8. Okay, so now queen takes f2, bishop takes f2. And look at the very next move, guys. Rook takes d5. Can you guys see the rook d8 threat happening with the next move? What can black do? Okay, there's rook d8 threat. There's the pawn going to e7 threat. There's still a threat on c7 also happening. There's nothing that the queen can actually do to defend that. All right, the queen is on g3. Look at what squares the queen can actually go to. It can only go to g4. It cannot go anywhere on this third rank. Okay? So this queen, in actual fact, can only safely go to one square, which is g4. All right, and therefore it is obvious that white resigned. You guys have gone quiet on me. Okay, I'm going to the next exercise. Yes?
No, Andrew, sorry, you mean black resigned?
Black resigned, yes. My apologies. Okay. Yes, black resigned there. Okay. Guys, we're going to the next exercise. I trust that your screen is still covered. In this case, white to play. We're talking queen sacrifices. Chapter, can you give me the first move that you're suggesting for white, please?
I can't see any move that will make a difference.
For white.
What if queen exchange knight on f6?
Yes.
And then the pawn obviously takes the queen,
Yeah.
but then there's a check coming.
Discover check. Yes.
Discover check. Yes, sorry, discover check. So then obviously the knight will Man, I just saw it.
You got you,
um,
you got the first two moves correct.
um,
You need to tell me which square does the knight go to.
obviously the king will probably go to the h7 or h8 square, so the knight will probably have to defend it. Obviously to avoid. Wait, let me just. No, I'm gonna stay back and think a
Okay.
bit.
Knight E4.
Knight e4. Who was that said that?
Wayland. Was me,
Wayland.
Wayland.
Thank you, Wayland. Knight goes to
Ah,
e4 with a threat of knight f6. You guys see that? Okay.
Yes.
So at this stage, black resigned because let's see if the king goes to h8. There's your knight takes f6, attacking the queen, and you're threatening checkmate on g8. Beautiful combination. Let's see if the knight e4 again. If the king goes to h7, there's still the beautiful fork happening there. If the king should go to h6, you still got this discovered attack
E4.
e4 coming. Okay. And where can the king go from there? It's actually
You
checkmate.
can't, it's checkmate.
Unless you bring bishop to f4. And there we go.
Checkmate.
Okay. Awesome. Let's go to the next one, guys. Number 8. In this case, it is black to make his first move.
Wouldn't it be queen a5 check, king takes rook a2, rook takes a2 check a4,
Queen
a5
a5
mate.
check, yes. King takes, and then
Rook takes a2 check.
all right.
And then a5 checkmate.
King comes back to b4, and then you say a5.
Yes.
Fantastic. My contribution was not needed there. Okay.
That one was a bit quick, sorry.
It's all good. All good. All right, let's go to number 9, guys. Is Rainer still with us?
I'm still with you guys. I'm laughing
Okay.
here.
All right, Rainer, you're gonna have to give me the first move for black. This one is not so easy, so straightforward like the previous one.
Why are you giving it to me?
Uh,
You're putting me on the spot now. Let me see.
my apologies. Not
No,
intentional.
no, it's all good.
So there is the black queen is being attacked, but black is refusing. I'm going to give you a clue. Black is refusing to move his queen away. He actually wants that queen to be taken.
Okay.
And this is an amazing combination. You want to call help? You want somebody to help you?
Yes, let me call a friend here. Because there's a few things that black can do, but I don't want to guess.
All right. Anito, are you ready to help right now here with what is your suggested first move for black?
Let me see. I'll just what I will do is I'll just take the rook. I don't know. I might be wrong. Bishop takes rook f8, f1.
Okay,
Maybe
so
I don't know.
that is the right move. So you're giving off the queen. Bishop takes, okay, Rainer, watch what happens. F takes g5. And now, Rainer, what is your next move that you're going to suggest, looking at that position? You've got the black rook on f8, protecting the bishop on f1, but there is also an attack
Rook
happening.
takes.
Yeah. Black to play
Rook takes bishop. Rook takes bishop.
on e2.
Yes.
Excellent. Queen goes to c3. And now you could have gone, if you wanted to, rook g2 check, but that's not really going to help you, eh?
Mm.
You could have gone rook g2, and then after that, when the king goes to h1, then you might even have considered to bring. So what I'm suggesting, guys, is possibly looking at this, king to h1, and then bring that rook down to f2. Guys, see that? So now you're threatening the h2, and then possibly if rook takes here on f1,
Checkmate.
then you're going to
Over.
checkmate him easily. Okay, you could have looked at that, but where were we? Queen c3. Actual move is bishop g2. Now the bishop is well placed on the long diagonal. Okay, queen goes to d3. And here we go, bishop f3. Black is actually just delaying it a bit longer. Rook to f1. There's your rook g2 check, which I spoke about earlier. King h1, and now you can obviously do your windmill thing if you want to, hey? Rook, bishop goes back to safety first. Takes, rook f8 takes there, king takes, and now there is a threat of the discovered attack and losing the queen. So the queen now goes to f1, and rook f2 check, and that's where white resigned. Okay.
Yeah, much harder one than the previous one.
Definitely.
Yeah, I must say well done, Anito, for seeing that first move. Was it a guess or did you see it?
All right.
I just said what the heck? Just take the rook.
Okay, guys, your screens are still covered. This one should be very easy. White to play.
Queen takes g7. d7.
Queen takes d7 is the suggestion. Any other suggestion? I think it was that Lazaric.
Bishop f7.
Yeah, bishop f7, mate, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's an analysis going there, bishop f7. But let's look at what happened here. No. Why? Oh, I think I misplaced this bishop. I've got the wrong position here. Let me just look at where that bishop should have been, guys. What are we busy with number 11, eh? I must just actually change this exercise and rectify it.
Two light squared bishops seems a little bit different.
Yes, the bishop should be on g5. My apologies, guys. This bishop here, that's on h5, should be on g5. Okay. My apologies for that. And now I'm extremely embarrassed. I can't even hide into the screen now. All right, but this bishop should be on g5. But the first move was bishop b5, knight takes c6. Sorry, rook takes c6. There we go. And D takes C6. And then knight takes E5. Followed by the pawn to C7. Okay. Once again, apologies about that bishop there. I will fix that position after this game. All right, let's look at the last one. Black to play. Somebody needs to go on mute. I can hear noise in the background. I'm not sure who Huawei Y6 is. Okay. Duran, can you give me the first move for black, please?
The first move for black would be, I'm thinking of queen to check, and then that's not gonna work. The rook comes. What about it's queen g2 check?
You said queen d2 check, but then the rook will take. Okay, we're talking sacrifices.
And then pushing the pawn.
Okay, I'm going to give you a clue. It is correct. We're talking queen sacrifice. So the queen is going to be moved now, but not to g2.
Not to g2. Look, I'm on the spot now, so I'm not thinking.
No problem.
In
No
a relaxed.
Okay, Waylon. Okay, for the sake of progress, can I say that the move is queen to e1? Check. All right, so now you can see what's happening, that discovered attack is going to come, because now rook takes e1, and then it's obvious.
Then it would be f2 check. Hey.
There we go. Queen takes the bishop.
And then the pawn takes rook.
Yep.
Promotes to a queen.
Yeah. King to g2 and queen takes. So now black has gained material, actually. Okay. And that is why white resigned. Okay, guys, just going back to what, if we look at our initial, what we set out to do tonight, in terms of our initial concepts that we looked at, even with the exercises, once again, with the queen sacrifices, there was forceful play involved. There was material compensation. Opposing queens were being attacked. Variations were calculated very carefully before contemplating the queen sacrifice. The timing thereof was also perfect. And the opposing queen was prevented from launching a successful counterattack. You also saw strong coordination, sound combinations between the pieces, and how they were well coordinated, even the minor pieces, the rooks or the bishops and the knights all working in tandem. And you saw some very interesting material compensation, hectic decisions being made. I mean, you had one side having all of the major pieces on the board and another side just doing the thing with the minor pieces and making sure that the combinations worked and the sacrifices were well calculated. All right, so what we saw tonight from everybody, what we saw is that sacrifices are certainly possible. We must not be afraid to make a sacrifice, a queen sacrifice, which is very rare in a game. But when you're making that queen sacrifice, you need to ensure that the timing is correct, it is well calculated, you have the backup plans in place, and that you have considered all the possibilities, and you are absolutely having the faith in all of your pieces that your plans are going to work. Guys, I thank you very much for your contribution tonight, and I wish you well, and we trust that tonight's course was enriching to you. The presentation will certainly help in the further development of your game. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was very fun. I enjoyed it a
Thank you,
lot.
Talmarkes.
you.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Staden, do you want to say something?
Not a lot, Andrew. Firstly, yeah, guys, thanks for the guys that visit us for the first time. I hope you guys that the session was of benefit to you, and I really hope that you guys would continue and join us more on a more permanent basis. The other thing is that you guys are aware of the Western Province Open tournament that where we decided that the OTB tournament we will play in May, and that we will have 2 qualifiers. The first one is on Monday. Monday is a public holiday. So what we're doing is, because of the fact that there's limited numbers that can play in the OTB tournaments, we now having these qualifiers, and out of the qualifiers, you know, select the players that will ultimately play in the over-the-board tournaments. So yeah, I encourage you guys to register for that, and then obviously participate in these qualifier tournaments that we've got. The one on Monday is going to be on lead chess, and then the one that's coming up in April is going to be on Tornello. So yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, guys. So we look forward to receiving your registrations. Take care
Andrew,
and good night, everybody.
Andrew,
Yes, sir.
sorry, man. Please, guys, just follow us next week. We're gonna play the first Eden Open. First Eden Close, the first ever Eden Close. And it will be played in the Wilderness Hotel. What is very interesting is the very first SA Open was played in the very same hotel, Wilderness. So please follow us. Next week, Friday, it starts 6 o'clock.
Okay. Thanks, Reino.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, guys. See you. Bye.